Hey folks, what's going on? HeirofCarthage here. Welcome back to Total War Warhammer 2. Doing some multiplayer. This was from the last stream I did with folks. We were playing the AI partner battles. This is where the player picks a lord, and then they pick an entire AI army, including a lord, and they use that single lord to support the AI army against a player doing the same thing. In fact, if you want to play this game mode with me, we're going to be doing a 2v2 version of this tonight on my stream at about 8:05 or 8:15, depending on when I schedule it, U.S. Central Time. So check that out. Go to my channel. You'll be able to see the stream. Please join us tonight, and I'll give you a little insight into what happened last time and to what to expect tonight. So I was busy ruining lore last time I did this just because I thought it was funny. And so I have Claw leading Tehinawin into battle. And for my Tehinawin army, I've got Tehinawin on his his Stegadon Engine of the Gods. We have a couple of Chameleon Skinks, and then I've got the Dread Saurian, the Spirit of Teapot, Star Chamber Guardians, and some Skink cohorts mixed in. And then my opponent has chosen Norska and Wulfric the Wanderer to be his AI partner. You can see a couple of his ice trolls here. And as far as what he's controlling, he is controlling Lord Mazdamundi. So Mazdamundi is leading Norska against Tehinawin and Claw, a couple of alliances that no doubt offend the lore deeply and permanently. So there's a Frostworm. It's going to unleash. Again, remember that Norska is AI controlled for my opponent, and on my side, Tehinawin and the Cult of Sotek is AI controlled. You can see the burning alignment that my AI character put in here. I didn't know how well burning alignment would do. When you're playing these type of battles, you kind of have to think about, okay, how well is the AI going to control what I bring, and how well can I support my AI army with what I bring? Now, in this particular pick, I was certainly more focused on picking two lords that hate each other just for the sake of. But, you know, that's the type of thinking, if you really want to be successful in this game mode, you have to think about how can I support what I'm bringing, and how is what I'm bringing going to perform against my opponent. And we'll talk some more about that. I have another match I'm going to show you, but I just wanted to show you this one because I thought it was pretty fun. I am shooting Wulfric the Wanderer in the butt with Claw from his little doom wheel, so I'm kind of sitting still and letting him shoot. Tehinawin's holding him still and allowing me the opportunity to shoot at him. I use Flensing Ruin to do some extra damage, but now I'm getting double-teamed, or I say I am. Tehinawin's getting double-teamed by Mazdamundi and Wulfric. Spirit of Teapot and the Dread Saurian are just busy absolutely destroying everybody and everything that opposes them over here on this flank. And let's go back. There comes the Viking ship there from Wulfric, Sea Fang. See, with Claw, I'm basically just staying safe and keeping close where I can support the fight. That's really all I need to do at this point. I summoned, Tehinawin summoned the Manticore. That's an ability that I gave him, magic-wise. You don't share a magic pool with your AI partner. So when you use the magic, it's good for you and your AI partner to have magic, ideally, though it doesn't have to go that way. But you don't share a magic pool. I use Flensing Ruin again, cause extra damage to Wulfric. He's now in really bad shape, and the Dread Saurian finally came over to support here. Ends up helping to rout Mazdamundi, and now is attacking Wulfric. So the Dread Saurian has done very well here for me because the AI hasn't done a good job of killing the Dread Saurian. Usually a player does a pretty darn good job of focusing out big units like the Shredder of Lustria. But the AI isn't always quite so capable. It's going to depend on what you give them and how they prioritize targets, whether they get to them. And so sometimes units that aren't very good in player-controlled situations, like a normal battle, can be quite good in this one, depending on the circumstances. I tend to find, at least so far, that heavy infantry, again, probably won't be the case every time, but I tend to find that heavy infantry does poorly, and single entities and missile cavalry do extremely well. So it seems like the AI tends to do better with single entities and missile cavalry than they do with like heavy infantry or other cavalry units. And their use of magic is also pretty poor. So you would need to pick spells that would be hard for the AI to misuse, if that makes sense. So let's take a look at some of the stats here. So Ikit Claw got quite a bit of damage done, mostly using his gun here too. So I allowed him to sit back and be safe. Tehenowin did okay. But look here, the infantry, I didn't expect Skinks to do good, but like Star Chamber Guardians, pretty meh. But if you look at the Shredder, he did fantastic. And the Spirit of Teapot did pretty good. My missiles did okay in this one because I figured that the AI could keep them alive. Let's go over and look at Mazdamundi. Only 1375 damage. We look at Wolfric. Wolfric got about 1300, so they were fairly limited what they were able to do. I'm surprised the Missile Cavalry didn't do a little better here for the AI. But look at the single entity here. Again, the 2 single entity units were what did the best for Norska, and it's not a huge surprise. The AI, like I said, I think tends to do best with those units. Let's go take a look at another battle I did in this, just to give you all an example from another perspective, and we'll see how that one goes too. All right, so this was another one where I was basically just picking silly armies just because I could, and so I got I got Eltharion supporting Grom, and so this was what is it, Grom and, or hang on, no, I always say Grom and the Punch, the Warden and the Punch DLC. So this is the Warden and the Punch DLC, and me kind of making fun of it here, in the sense that we've got Eltharion leading Grom. Now, again, if you look at the army I picked a ton of infantry for the Greenskins, and I picked a little bit of Missile Cavalry too, 4 units of it. And I've got a couple of Black Orc big bosses just to kind of help support the infantry and an Ragnarok Queen. So I did bring some single entities. When you count Grom, there's 4 single entities, and there is some Missile Cavalry. So I was hoping, maybe the AI will do good with those, and I can support with all the magic stuff that Eltharion brings to bear. Now, my opponent, Once Aspiring Amoeba over here, he picked Volkmar to support the vampires. Let's see what kind of units he has picked for him. He has some cavalry here, so Black Knights, Crypt Horrors, mostly just weak infantry, but a couple of Cairn Wraiths, which do a little better. But you'll notice there's a lot of Corpse Carts here. And the Corpse Carts help inspire nearby units and just create something that my other units have to focus on. I used a Tempest here, hoping I could wipe out these Vargeist, and it was pretty ineffective, so I wasn't very happy with the way that went down. Now let's take a look here too. The Vampire Lord is Helman Gorst, and this is supposed to be the Grim and the Grave here from Volkmar. So I love the combination, both of us doing something absolutely ridiculous. But let's see how this plays out. Again, as the Greenskins, I have quite a lot of infantry, and Savage Orcs ought to do fairly good against many vampire units. Let's see what actually plays out here. So Grom goes charging straight in and gets himself a little out of position here, in my opinion. He's caught up with some Crypt Horrors, and now there's Cairn Wraiths coming in. So not exactly a brilliant position for him. The Arachnarok Queen is just fighting zombies. And then if you look, this is going to be a big problem for me. The Mortis engine is not being properly challenged by the Light Cavalry. If we look and see, the Light Cavalry for what I picked for my Greenskin allies is just kind of randomly shooting stuff. It looks like maybe now they're shooting the Vargeist, so they're not doing a great job of prioritizing important targets like this Mortis engine. So it shows you that the Mortis engine could potentially be a great pick. In fact, I wanted to kill it here, so I charged in, thinking, man, if I can kill that Mortis engine, that will be a big win. And not very impressed with Eltharion here as he gets in and can't quite seem to finish the job on the Mortis engine with any speed because it got an Invocation of Nehek. And then I'm followed by Vargeist, so this battle's actually going extremely poorly for me. All of my infantry got routed, presumably, due to terror from Cairn Wraiths and Mortis engine, other stuff like that. And so my infantry is just doing absolutely awful, just terrible. And meanwhile, the vampire units are doing pretty darn well here, all things considered. All these Corpse Carts are just creating extra targets. They're supporting nearby vampire units with extra attack and morale, and it's really creating some issues for me. And you can see that my Missile Cavalry, which I expected decent things from, because the AI usually does good with Missile Cavalry, is actually doing really poorly. They can't seem to pick out a target, and they haven't skirmished well either. You can see here my Morgreps Mangy Marauders got caught by a heavy cavalry. It should have never happened, but the AI allowed it to happen. And at this point, Eltharion just can't possibly, Grom is completely overwhelmed, and Eltharion can't possibly turn the tide against all this stuff. I'm trying my best to keep him alive, and I'm trying desperately to kill the Mortis engine here, because I know that I cannot survive with this Mortis engine here. I still got 2 Black Orc big bosses who are kind of clobbering away, doing a decent job, but With that Mortis Engine alive, I'm just going to die. Like, it's just going to suck all the life out of my units. And you can see Amoeba uses all of his units to block for it and get it away alive. And you think about, too, like Grand Hammer of Sigmar, that's a really nice support for vampire units because a lot of them don't have very high attack. Bombardments that Volkmar brings break up blobs. So it's actually, even though it was intended kind of a meme against the Grim and the Grave, it's actually not a bad support structure going on between Gorst and Volkmar, especially considering what I'm left with here, which Altharion and Grom seem to be a much less dynamic duo here in terms of what they're capable of. And I just cannot get any units to kill the Mortis Engine, and it's healing so quickly that it becomes very difficult to accomplish. Desperation here, I'm trying anything I can to mop up some vampire units, and I just can't do it. I don't have the right magic to help against everything's here. So again, when we look at what's left at this point, the vampires did a little bit of work with their zombies. Like, if you think about it, this is actually not bad here, like how busy they've kept the spider. The spider has been kept busy with just zombies and Cairn Rays for the whole battle, which is not a good trade for the spider. And instead, it hasn't attacked Volkmar, it hasn't attacked Corpse Carts, it hasn't attacked the Mortis Engine. So if you think about it, in this case, my AI units didn't end up matching up properly with what I would have wanted them to, right? Like my Black Orc big bosses should have been interspersed with the infantry to keep them from routing, and they didn't. They stayed back fighting other things while my infantry went forward and got terror routed. The bosses stayed behind, the spider got bogged down in infantry, so basically nothing that I needed to work here worked. My light cavalry, like over here, wasting ammo on a Cairn Wraith. So I just didn't get my AI units to do what I had hoped they would do, and even if I had, I kind of like Amoeba's combination better than mine here. Even though they're both memey in the sense that we're making fun of DLCs. I say making fun of, just poking fun at, I should say, because there's nothing wrong with the DLCs per se. I just feel like his combination ended up being much more potent there. I did get some work done with Eltharion. We got 2711 damage done. Grom did pretty poorly. One of my big bosses did well. I mean, he was clearly pounding on Corpse Carts and Vargeist and Cavalry and everything else, and he got a decent bit of value. The other one didn't do so hot. If we look at the light cavalry, though, this is such a disappointment. There were so many targets, and they got hardly any value at all. The spider, 120 kills, that's great, right? No, because they were all valueless kills, so again, wasn't able to get the job done. And then I didn't expect much from my infantry, but they did exceptionally poor. I don't think a single one of my infantry units matched its cost in damage value. And you look at Volkmar here, he did excellent, 2749, not surprising. Volkmar is a great unit. Even Gorst did better than Grom. So, come on, Grom, where were you at, man? How does Helman Gorst outperform you? But he did. He did indeed. Look at the Knights here. This one did okay. Not too great here, you know, but some of these units were racking up kills and being really annoying. Look at this Cairn Wraith, racked up 1223. I'm guessing this is the one that was tied up with the spider, maybe. But ended up doing fairly well. And then the Mortis Engine really put away some value here, too. Let's look at the Corpse Carts. Don't expect much here, but again, these units were helping to keep the chaff alive longer and just provide additional targets that my army would have to deal with. So I don't necessarily think that was a bad pick at all. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed these. Again, join me tonight if you want to play some 2v2 versions of this. We'll have the stream going. I appreciate all those who joined the last time we did this, and I'm looking forward to it this time. It's an interesting game style in the sense that it's a totally different mechanic than regular battles. And it kind of makes a fun new way to play, in my opinion. It's not going to be the only way I ever play from here on out, but I think this one's interesting, and I just want to dive into it a little more. So hope to see you all tonight on the stream. HeirofCarthage, signing out for now.